Story 1. The Curse of the Arctic Club Hotel. I'm Emily. In October 2018, I arrived in Seattle for a marketing conference. My company booked me a room at the Arctic Club Hotel, a building that seemed stuck in another era. The lobby was a spectacle of opulence. Crystal chandeliers hung like luminous chandeliers. The marble floor glistened in the dim light, and a smell of antique wax mingled with something stale, as if time had stagnated in the cracks in the walls. I went up to the 5th floor in an old elevator, buttons flashing as if hesitating to work. The hum of the wires echoed like a metallic heartbeat, and each rattle made my nerves stand on edge. My room was elegant, but unsettling. A bed with stiff sheets that creaked when touched, velvet curtains that seemed to absorb the light of the city, and an antique mirror on the wall that reflected shadows that shouldn't be there. As I entered, a chill brushed against my arms, as if an invisible current had crossed the room. I told myself it was the tiredness of the journey, but I couldn't ignore the feeling that something was watching me from the corners. I tried to sleep, but at 3 a.m., a noise roused me from sleep. The elevator was going up, slow, deliberate. Each click of the panel marking the floors was like a clock counting a cursed hour. He stopped in the 5th. The doors opened with a creak that cut through the silence like a knife. I looked through the peephole, my heart pounding in my chest. The elevator was empty, but the air felt thick, as if something invisible filled the hallway. The next day, I tried to work on my laptop, but a sudden cold enveloped me. It was as if an icy hand had landed on me, even though the radiator was buzzing loudly. My breath formed small clouds, and my fingers trembled on the keyboard. I felt a chill down the back of my neck, as if someone was right behind me, breathing. I turned, but there was nothing. That night, as I tried to sleep, heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway, slow, as if someone was dragging something heavy. I got up, my pulse racing, and opened the door. The corridor was deserted, but the echo of footsteps was still bouncing in my head. I closed it tightly, and then I heard it. A low, broken whisper that said, "I can't." It vanished, but the weight on my chest grew, pressing down on me as if the air itself crushed me. On the second night, I woke up with the certainty that I was not alone. The curtains were closed, but a tall shadow slipped behind them, silent, like a blur of ink in the darkness. My skin froze, and my breathing became shallow. I didn't dare to move. The whisper returned, clearer. "I can't. Leave." My heart was pounding so hard that I barely heard the rest. I froze, staring at the curtains, waiting for them to move again. They didn't. But the feeling of being watched didn't let me sleep. The third night was the worst. I was awake, staring at the ceiling, when the cold returned, more intense than ever. The air became so thick that I could barely breathe. Suddenly, the curtains were drawn, even though there was no wind. I froze, my heart pounding in my ears. Then, the window slammed open, the frame shaking as if something had hit it furiously. I ran to close it, but stopped short. A figure was there, a tall man, with sunken eyes and an expression of sadness that pierced my soul. He didn't say anything. He just looked at me, his face pale as death. Then, he vanished, as if the air had swallowed him. I turned on all the lights, shaking, and checked the window. It was closed, as if nothing had happened. At dawn, I couldn't take it anymore. I spoke to a receptionist, an elusive-eyed man who would only say that the hotel had its stories. Investigating, I discovered the truth. In 1936, a congressman, torn apart by despair and madness, threw himself from a 5th-floor window. His shadow still haunts, moving elevators, whispering in the night, caught up in his tragedy. I packed my suitcase and left, but even now, I sometimes feel an inexplicable cold, as if something had followed me. If you're staying at the Arctic Club, avoid the 5th floor, and don't look out the window. The Arctic Club Hotel, built in 1916, is known for its history linked to the Klondike Gold Rush and for the suicide of Marian Zionchek in 1936. Guests report elevators going up to the 5th floor alone, cold areas, ghost footsteps, and apparitions of a sad figure, cementing its reputation as one of Seattle's most haunted places. If this story made your blood run cold, subscribe to Mr. Night Terrors. Only 20% of our viewers are subscribed, and we need your support to keep bringing you stories that will keep you up at night. Do it now, and join those who dare to explore the unknown. Story 2. The Whispers of Pike Place Market. I'm Jake, and I've been selling flowers at Pike Place Market for 10 years. By day, the place is a whirlwind of life. The perfume of fresh roses mixes with raw fish. Vendors shout their offers, and the laughter of tourists fills the air. But at night, when the stalls close and the fog slips in from the port, the market is transformed. The air becomes heavy, as if the floorboards exhale an ancient breath, something that does not belong to this world. One night, while I was putting away my flowers, I heard a touch near the stairs that go down to Western Avenue. It was a soft sound, like an old skirt brushing the floor. I thought it was a lagging customer, but the market was deserted. I looked out, my heart beating faster, and saw a small, stooped figure, with a red shawl fluttering behind her, as if the wind were blowing her even though there was no breeze. I blinked, and it disappeared. Sweat chilled my forehead, but I told myself that it was my imagination, that the long hours were playing tricks on me. Days later, closing late, a cold enveloped me, sharper than the sea breeze that usually sneaks through the corridors. He was alone, but a whisper came from the empty stalls, as if someone was speaking in the distance, in a language he couldn't understand. I turned, searching with the flashlight, but no one was there. That night, a basket at my stall fell with a thud, as if someone had pushed it. I lifted it, trembling, and saw a shadow glide across the wall, quick as the blink of an eye. My breathing quickened, and the silence of the market seemed to mock me, as if it knew something I didn't. Things got worse. One night, while tidying up, childish giggles echoed from the antique store down the hall. I approached, my heart in my throat, but the place was empty. Then a chair moved by itself, squeaking against the floor as if someone invisible had sat down. My breath cut off, and I backed away, feeling the air grow thicker. Another night, while I was sweeping, something cold brushed against my shoulder, like an icy hand. I screamed, turned, and there was nothing. Just the echo of my voice bouncing off the walls. I couldn't ignore it any longer. I talked to an old salesman, a tired-eyed man who seemed to know more than he was saying. "You're not crazy," he told me. "This place keeps souls that do not rest." He told me about a woman who sold baskets more than a century ago, about children trapped in an ancient fire, about a man who still walks the market he helped create. One night, as I was closing, I saw the figure in the red shawl again, standing at the end of the hall, motionless, watching me. I didn't go close. I ran, leaving the market behind, my heart pounding as if it wanted to escape from my chest. Now, I close my stall before nightfall and avoid looking at the shadows. If you visit Pike Place at night, be careful. Something is watching you. The Pike Place Market, founded in 1907, is a Seattle icon known for its ghosts, such as Princess Angeline, daughter of Chief Seattle, and Arthur Goodwin, one of its founders. Reports of children's laughter, self-moving objects, and appearances on the stairs reinforce its reputation as the most haunted place in the city. Story 3. The Tears of the Cadillac Hotel. I'm Laura, a guide at the Klondike Gold Rush Museum, located in the Cadillac Hotel, the oldest building in Pioneer Square. Its walls are littered with relics, rusty pickaxes, faded photos of men with broken dreams, maps that tell stories of lost fortunes. But from my first day, I felt like something else was living there. The air smelled of dust and something metallic, like dried blood. The floors creaked beneath my footsteps, and the shadows seemed to move on their own in the corners, as if the building were breathing. One afternoon, while organizing a display case on the second floor, I heard a soft, broken sob, as if someone were crying in the distance. I followed the sound down the hallway, my footsteps echoing in the weathered wood, but it stopped abruptly as I approached a corner. There was no one there. My skin stood on end, and a shiver ran down my spine, but I chalked it up to the echo of the building. I told myself that it was just my imagination, that old museums have that effect. But the feeling of being watched did not leave me. Days later, as the museum was closing, I heard heavy footsteps going up the stairs to the third floor. I thought of a guard, but when I shouted, "Who's there?" I just got silence. The footsteps continued, slow, deliberate, as if someone were climbing with a purpose. I ran downstairs, my heart in my mouth, but I found no one. Then, the elevator came to life, going up and stopping with a metallic groan that echoed through the empty building. I opened it, hoping to find someone, but it was empty. A chill pierced me, as if something invisible had passed by me, brushing against me with icy fingers. The following nights were worse. As I worked, I felt eyes on the back of my neck, and the air became heavy, as if someone was breathing nearby. Once, a book in a display case fell on its own, hitting the ground with a rumble that made me jump. But the worst was a few weeks ago. He was turning off the lights when the crying returned, clearer, heartbreaking, accompanied by a childish laugh that froze the blood. I followed the sound to the second floor, my hands trembling. There, in the semi-darkness, I saw a figure, a translucent woman holding a child in her arms. His eyes, filled with infinite pain, were fixed on me. The boy laughed, but his face was empty, like a broken mask. They disappeared, and my cry echoed in the silence. I ran to the exit, feeling quick footsteps behind me, as if something was chasing me. I investigated later, my heart still racing. The building was erected in 1890, following a devastating fire in 1889 that killed many, including a mother and her son. Their spirits, along with those of forgotten workers, still haunt the upper floors and the elevator. Now, every turn is a challenge. I enter the museum with a tight stomach, expecting to hear that cry again. If you visit the Cadillac, listen carefully. The past still cries, and it's not always alone. The Cadillac Hotel, built in 1890 after the Great Seattle Fire, is now the Klondike Gold Rush Museum. Reports of a mother and son crying, footsteps on the stairs, and apparitions on the upper floors make it one of the most haunted places in Pioneer Square. And so ends our journey through haunted Seattle. From the shadows of the Arctic Club, to the whispers of Pike Place, to the cries of the Cadillac, these stories show that the past never quite goes away. From which city do you see us? Have you felt something you can't explain? Tell us in the comments, like and subscribe to Mr. Night Terrors. Only 20% of our viewers are subscribed, and your support helps us keep digging up the darkest secrets. Until next time, keep your eyes open. Something might be staring at you.